I'm happy to be joined here today by an old friend that I had locked up in the closet for 10 or 12 years, as one does with old friends. No, really, this is my Rhodes piano that I bought in the mid-'70s. It may be 50 years since I've owned this piano. And I've betrayed it many times over the years because it's just how you do. Musicians are fickle. At least I am. You've been warned. But what happened is I've had this piano, and because it's so featured in Say Say Say, when I made the video, the making of Say Say Say, which is far and away the most popular video on this channel. I want to thank everybody that's watched it. It's very cool. But some of the people in the comments asked me if I still had it. Yes, I do. And how I modified it. So all will be revealed right here and now. And it goes back to the time that I was working with Stevie, back in the Secret Life of Plants, or maybe into the Hotter Than July era. But one day I was down at his studio and waiting for him, or maybe not. I would just go down there and hang out sometimes. But I was playing one of his Rhodes, and he had several of them. And I was going, why does this thing sound so good? You know, because it did. It had this sound that was very, very cool. And my curiosity got the best of me. So what I did is I lifted up the top and had a look. And all was revealed. You get down, and I didn't open it up. There's some screws you can loosen here and lift up this whole assembly, but I wasn't quite that bold. But I could see that what they had done is someone had replaced the stock hammers, and not the hammers, the hammer tips, because a Rhodes has it's an electromechanical piano. I try not to be pedantic, but meaning that if I unplug this now, you're not going to hear it. So it's like an electric guitar, a solid body electric guitar, because every note has its own pickup, and but the mechanical part, that's the electro part. The mechanical part is it's very much a piano in that when you press a key, it's a system of levers. And it comes up and strikes the, what Rhodes calls a tone bar, which is, it's like a tuning fork. I always thought of it as a tuning fork. The top half you see here, the bottom half is a little piece of metal called a tine. And on a stock Rhodes of this vintage, a 73 at least, there's 5 gradations of hammer tips that differ in hardness. Because the harder the hammer tip, the brighter the sound. Now on the top 2 octaves is the hardest, and it's a triangular hammer tip that's made of maple and covered with a very thin coat of rubber. And that goes from E down 2 octaves. So these top 2 octaves have that, and then they change to the kind, if you've seen them, there's like 3/8 cube squares of neoprene rubber. And somehow they've been able to formulate those so that they have different They spent a lot of time on that to get the classic Rhodes sound. You throw that all out the window when you do what whoever did that for Stevie. It's just such a cool sound, because if you take those hard hammer tips and take them all the way down the keyboard, then you get this kind of nonsense. It's just crazy. I mean, let's put the lid back on, because one thing it does is it adds a lot of mechanical noise to the keys, and that's because I did it myself. And just, it's a simple modification, but be forewarned that it does. If you're not a piano technician, you'll screw it up like I did. It didn't matter to me then. It doesn't really matter to me now, because that mechanical noise stays right here. It doesn't come out of the output, and so what you have is just that sound. But it does. It clicks and clacks like an old typewriter. And I think a piano technician could have done a better job of it. What I did is I went and ordered the hammers I needed right away. And when they came in, I spent a full afternoon prying off the old hammer tips, and gluing on the new ones. And then I took an extreme act of willpower not to start playing it right away, but I let the glue dry overnight. And then I was just knocked out at how good it sounded. I had no idea, About a year or so after I replaced the hammers, people started coming out with aftermarket things to do to a Rhodes. There was the whole Dyno My Piano thing, which I passed on. I didn't really care for the sound. It was a little too barky. But then there was another company that came out with a very reasonably priced active preamp, which I put in this thing, because it's just like an active preamp you'd put in an electric bass or electric guitar. It runs on a 9-volt battery, and you have brightness and treble and bass controls, and that made it even more absurdly bright, which I liked. It's just, when you get used to this sound, it's you get used to that super chimey, bell-like sound. It's like having the bad habit of putting too much salt on your food, or putting hot sauce on everything. Your food doesn't taste right without it. So I mean, every time I try out a Rhodes sound, I'm wishing that it sounded like this, and it never does. Because again, there ain't nothing like the real thing. Because the piano is a system of levers that strike strings on an acoustic piano, tines or tuning forks on an electromechanical piano. Because of that striking thing is why in an orchestra the piano is relegated to the percussion section. Because those guys are striking things. They're generally striking drums or a glockenspiel or a marimba, and they're using sticks. And if you think about it, what you strike the object with has as much of an impact on the sound as the object itself. So if you think about a drummer, most of the time drummers are using sticks that have hard tips. If they want to have a softer sound, they'll use felt mallets. Or if you watch the guys in the orchestra playing the timpani, they're playing those with felt mallets. And jazz drummers will use brushes if they want to be extra soft. So what you strike the instrument with is every bit as important as what you're striking. You think about a thumbtack piano, the honky-tonk kind of thing. And I actually did that to my mother's spinet piano when I was a kid. And bless her soul, she put up with it for about 2 weeks. No, it didn't do any permanent damage to her beloved little spinet piano. And it got annoying after a while, but it's true. You just take a bunch of thumbtacks and stick them into the felt hammers of a piano, and there you go. You've got a horrible honky-tonk sounding piano, but it is a different sound. You listen. Stevie used one on Ebony Eyes, so it has its place. And this sound definitely has its place. And it wound up having its place on Say, Say, Say. I never really thought of it as the Say, Say, Say piano, but just, you know, from under the weight of superstars like Sir Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, and a #1 pop song. It was #1 for 6 weeks. I guess this is the Say, Say piano. Say, Say, Say piano. But I just always thought of it as my piano, and if I associated it with any kind of record, it would be my first 2 solo albums. But it can be the Say, Say, Say piano. That's fine. I'm actually happy that it did. You know, when I was doing that video, I realized that just the sound of this piano becomes what Quincy's engineer Bruce Swedin called a sonic personality, and he came up with that term talking about the drum sound that he devised for Indugu for Leon Chancellor on Billie Jean. And he was rightfully proud of that, and proud of the fact that 3 or 4 beats is all you need to hear. And you know that's Billie Jean. And that's long before the vocals come in, or even the other instruments. But what occurred to me is I think that this piano is a sonic personality for Say, Say, Say. Because all you got to do is hear... Right? There it is. And so that's cool. I'm actually, I love to think of the fact that this piano that normally sits in my closet has this history that I recorded it at Cherokee Studios with a dream rhythm section of Nate Watts and Ricky Lawson. And then later David Williams came in. Chris Smith on harmonica, Jerry Hay on horns. That whole story is on my making of Say, Say, Say video. But so that's the making of this Rhodes sound. There's one other component to it that was essential, and that was some kind of a chorus. And what I used to use was the Boss CE1 chorus ensemble that Roland made. And it was that big clunky gray one. That was the first one, the CE1. And then later that thing went belly up on me, and I didn't take time to get it fixed, and now I don't even know where it is. And I bought one of those blue kind of cube-shaped guitar chorus pedals they had, and that did the trick. And I don't know where that is. So what I'm doing today on this video to show it, I'm using, I must pronounce this very carefully so YouTube didn't think I'm saying something naughty. I'm using a Moger Foger cluster flux. I'll say it again very carefully. Cluster flux. Get your mind out of the gutter. I didn't name it, they did. But it's a great chorus and flanger. I mean, it does the job more than adequately. It's just, I just love the sound of this thing. You know, you get it out and you realize that I've played so many, you know, because it's big and it's mechanical and it doesn't have MIDI, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, and you know, I kind of put away playing it and accepted what were really inferior substitutes, because I've never heard a plug-in or anything else that sounds, you know, quite this, has that sound. It just, they don't. And so getting it out, it's fun to hear it again, because you just go, ain't nothing like the real thing, you know, and there isn't. But while I've got it out, what I'm thinking of doing is I'd like to sample it. But I don't know if anybody, I don't have the skills to create a good plug-in. And I don't know if there's even a market for it, because there, you know, I may sound like I'm ragging on Rhodes plugins, but there's some really excellent ones out there, and I don't know if there'd be a market for one that's quite this specialized, you know, to have this super chimey, absurd sound that this has. I don't know, but I'm gonna put out some inquiries and see if somebody would be interested in helping me with that, because I do love the sound of it, and I'd be happy if people could use this in a plug-in. But I'm not going to take the time to learn the scripting, and I'd never be able to do as good a job as the pros are doing, because that's very advanced stuff. But that, anyway, is the story of the Say piano, my Rhodes. I'm glad that I can abuse it and put it in the closet for 10 years and pull it out, and it's in no harm, no foul. I mean, it's just these things are built like tanks, and I'm happy to have it. There it is. It's a cool piano and it's a cool sound. It might not be for everybody. I still like the other, you know, the normal Rhodes sound, you know, like the Suitcase, Herbie Hancock Rhodes sound. That's a great classic sound that will always be in style. But there you have it. If you want to try this at home, be advised that you're going to get all that mechanical noise from the keys. To give you a hint of it. It's just mechanical noise, and maybe you know, like I said, maybe a technician could do better, because I was kind of klutzy about it. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I had parts left over. But you can see, you can lift up this whole harp, and then get at the hammers, and I took off this front plate. I had the whole thing disassembled. I could take out the keys, and like when you're clumsy with doing repairs, you have parts left over. That's not a good thing. So that might be why there's so much key noise, or maybe not. Maybe it's just because every time I hit a key, I'm smacking it with a piece of maple. You know? What would it sound like if I took the rubber off the maple? That'd be absurd. Then it'd be like a thumbtack piano. Then it'd be too much. But I like this thing, and there you go. So if you you can still find the hammer tips for these online. There's a couple of places that provide them. Just search Rhodes hammer tips or Rhodes parts. And if you do it yourself, be advised that you know, you're going to have that noise. But again, the noise doesn't come out of the output. It's not being recorded. It's just mechanical noise. You know, like the sound of a typewriter. If I filmed me banging away on a typewriter, a microphone would pick up all that noise. It wouldn't affect what was going on the page. So that's the Rhodes. That's my Rhodes. Voila. Okay, thanks for watching. Hit that like button, tell all your neighbors, get the dog, bring the whole family in, and I'll see you the next time. Ciao.